The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
The following episode has been brought to you by the Dorkening Podcast Network and is sponsored by Deadly Grounds Coffee.
3, 2, 1.
And now, you're tuned into the Navarro-Miller Report, featuring the hottest in news, entertainment, sports, and all those topics for the mainstream audience. The Navarro-Miller Report.
Examine your reality.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Navarro-Miller Report. I'm your host, Dave Navarro.
And I'm Jeremy Miller.
I can't believe I'm on the side. Hi. I'm looking at the camera right there. All right, cool. Hopefully everybody's having a wonderful Friday afternoon. I wanted to welcome everybody that's watching on TikTok as well. Hello, everyone on TikTok. I'm forcing Jeremy to be here on TikTok because you know what? I can. That's right. Do something, bro. Be about it, son. Come on, let's go. Sorry.
Yeah, don't tempt me, boy. You don't want to see me.
Don't threaten me with a good time, buddy. All right.
Exactly.
Hopefully everybody, and wanted to welcome everybody that's also watching here on our various platforms. We got Meg in Tallahassee watching us on YouTube, JC on Facebook, and Deborah on YouTube as well. Welcome everybody, and everybody else that's watching us right here too. How's your day going, by the way, Jeremy? How's your
day's been going well? Unfortunately, I had to see you earlier, but got to meet a really cool guy that that you introduced me to. So you're good for something.
Wow. Eat it big time. No, what made me laugh earlier was that horrible joke you made, and then silence. And then all of a sudden you hear Joni go, start laughing out of nowhere.
You only think it was a horrible joke because it was at your expense. Everyone else found it funny.
She laughed mostly at my facial expression after you told me it. That was actually kind of funny. I started cracking up when she started crying. I was like, really, Joni? Really? She's just like dying. Oh, I gotta love her. Love Joni. So as it would habit is, I can't even talk right now. For those of you that don't know, since Jeremy does not have a TikTok, refuses to get a TikTok, will never get a TikTok, I force him to go ahead and sit here and watch TikTok videos so that he can react to them. See, I've had these videos. I've done these videos so many times, Jeremy. You'd think that you'd get on eventually just for curiosity's sake to go ahead and see how many crazy people there are out there.
I don't need something else sucking up all my time. I know if I get on that platform, I'm just going to sit there for hours just scrolling, finding crazy, funny stuff. I know it's probably a lot of fun, but I don't have the time for that.
Whatever. Well, this first video, as we all know, we are practically in the middle of September now. Halloween's just around the corner. So these gentlemen right here actually have they have a pretty good homemade costume that if you get some friends together would be genius. Go ahead, check it out. That's one of those genius costumes I've seen so far.
That is pretty brilliant. But I'm not sure how you present that costume at more than one home. Are you just going to wash all the cars in your neighborhood?
I mean, I would go ahead and set them up like right at the front door as people are walking in, be like, all right, they need to be sanitized and washed real quick, and start having them like go up to people and doing that.
That's a pretty good one. I am a big fan of good, creative, Halloween costumes, and that one was pretty tight.
Oh yeah, totally. This next one, now I don't know if you know this about me, Jeremy, but I love languages. I love learning new languages. It's one of my favorite things to do. The more languages I learn, the better it is for me to communicate with all different cultures. This gentleman is actually teaching us how to speak in Chinese, and the crazy part is, I understood every single thing he said. Go ahead and take a look.
Learn Chinese in 1 minute. That's not right.
Something wrong.
Are you harboring a fugitive?
Who you hiding?
See me ASAP.
Come here.
Small horse.
Tiny pony.
Did you go to the beach?
Why you so tan?
I bumped into the coffee table.
I bang my knee.
I think you need a facelift.
Chin too fat.
It's very dark in here.
Why so dim?
I thought you were on a diet.
Why you come ching?
This is a towaway zone.
No parking.
Our second meeting is scheduled for next week.
Why you come now?
Staying out of sight.
Laying low.
He's cleaning his automobile.
Washing car.
Your body odor is offensive.
You stinky poo.
Great.
Super.
You are an idiot.
You so dumb.
Weirdly, I understood every single word. Like, that's so crazy. I freaking suddenly know how to speak Chinese. It's awesome. I understood everything he said.
Are we giving this guy a pass because he's Asian to do something that completely racist?
I mean, that's the only reason why I played it, to be honest with you. I was like, it's coming from an Asian guy, so...
Sorry, I'm not a fan of that one. You know, that dates back to a lot of the old, very stereotypical racist jokes that used to be running around. And having worked with, in China specifically and tried to actually learn some of the language for working out there and stuff like that, that hits a nerve with me. I don't really find, I got a wry smile out of me, but I don't find that funny. That's a little too...
Well, it comes from somebody that's actually Asian.
That does not make a difference.
I mean, if he gets a kick out of it, I'm just like, dude, you're an idiot. But I mean, it was like, I'm like, you're an idiot. But it's just, I don't know.
I can tell you, all of my friends in China would not find that funny in any way, shape, or form. And I got a bit of an issue with that one.
Right on. Well, we got the next one right here. This last one, actually. Now, I told you about this one. When we went to the red carpet event. And the red carpet event right there, it was basically, it was the dumbest argument in the world. And I think I told you about this, but you got to be the judge for yourself. I mean, this is the dumbest argument known to man.
Hold on. This is my favorite. Hold on. Her sister was a witch, right? And what was her sister? A princess. The Wicked Witch of the East, bro. I'm gonna stab him. You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong? It's my favorite movie. Wore a crown and she came down in a bubble, dog. I'm not fighting with you. Grow up, I'm not fighting with you. Grow up. Get educated.
The dumbest argument known to man is the argument about whether or not the Wicked Witch of the East was a witch or not. Or was it the West? Was it the East or was it the West?
No, they were arguing whether the West one was a witch.
Okay.
And considering she was called the Good Witch Glenda, I say that kind of negates the argument.
Well, but that's the thing, though, is that, like, judging... Okay, so this same video made an appearance on Tosh.0, and they had the argument on Tosh.0. And basically, he said he really wasn't that aware of some of the stuff from the freaking movie. And he's like, oh, wait a minute. So she was actually a fairy, not a witch. She wasn't even a princess, really. He's like, dude, but she came down in a bubble. It's like, that doesn't matter. She's still the Wicked Witch or she's still the Good Witch of the West, I guess. So it's just an argument that forever will stay with me, because he thought that they were sisters, and they weren't sisters. They were rivals. What happened is that Dorothy fell on the sister. So that was the argument right there. It's like, no, actually, she fell on the sister.
Correct.
So that's where it came from.
Who was the original evil one?
Exactly. So yeah, that was probably the dumbest fucking argument I've ever seen in my entire life.
I gotta admit though, when I was around that age, especially because if I knew a trivia fact like that to be true and you sat there obstinately denying it, oh man, I was not having that. So I was probably that stupid too back then.
Yeah. I think we all are at some point in life. Well, no, that's a free one for you.
It was too easy. I'm gonna let that pass.
You can't get ahead and lob those easy ones for you right there. So
that's low-hanging fruit. That's not even a challenge.
Moving on to some weird and outlandish news. So we have a news report: cop versus cops. So this isn't even singular. It wasn't a cop versus a cop. It was a cop versus a bunch of cops, Jeremy.
Yeah, this one was pretty interesting. And again, I'm sorry, Meg, but we're headed back to Florida.
There it is.
Although this time it's Florida man, but it's Florida deputy. So a Florida deputy, 22 years old, was apparently clocked doing 105 in a 60 in his Subaru Impreza, which if anybody's been around street racing and anything like that, Subaru Imprezas are kind of prone to and are very easy to trick out and make them kind of speed racers, little, very quick, tight handling. And yeah, this guy got clocked doing 105. They didn't know it was a deputy at the time. He led the police on a hours-long chase, reaching up to 130 miles an hour on the streets at times.
Oh, man.
He slammed his vehicle into a median, damaging some of his tires. Then after that, tried to ram his car multiple times into one of the other deputies. Oh. And then while he was being evaded, they had to pit him multiple times, but he was somehow miraculously able to avoid the pit maneuver. Yeah, because he'd been taught it. So he knew how to counter it. So when they finally got him stopped, the guy refuses to get out of his car, of course. You finally get him out. He's intoxicated. They ran, breathalyzers and everything else. They ran blood and urine. We don't have the results of those. But it turned out that, yes, it was a deputy who had recently been made a deputy. This guy went through 3 years of probationary. He started in 2020 as a correctional officer deputy, probational deputy, worked his way up and only just became a full-fledged deputy in April of this year. So less than 3 months, and this man's career is done. He's already been kicked off the force. There are varying reports as to whether he resigned or whether he was let go, but he is facing multiple charges, including felony evasion, felony reckless speeds, felony attempted, I don't know what the charge is, but trying to hit, a police officer, all sorts of stuff. So 22 years old, and this guy has already flushed his career down the toilet.
Well, Meg,
I gave you affluent Florida man last time. Now I'm giving you deputy Florida man. We're trying to at least keep it a little highbrow.
Well, this one's on a higher level already of Floridian, of the Floridians right there. That's just all kinds of bad. I mean, the guy just said pretty much, screw my career. Yeah. I can get away with this. Why not? I'm a cop.
As they said, they believe he was intoxicated. He appeared intoxicated. And, that probably led to some of the bad decision making.
Jeez. You gotta love Florida. You really, really gotta love Florida. I'm trying to look at some of the comments here. Yeah, there JC actually is saying work to get all that power only to blow it to test his ride, blockhead.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
Oh Lord. Well, we got another one, and this one actually we share this one. We have two shared ones on this one. We have two weird DUI stops that occurred. And Jeremy, I'll have you take the floor.
Well, I'll let you lead it in with the Hot Wheels.
Okay. So there's some reports, actually, this happened in Indiana, and it actually happened last month, where a man got pulled over for a DUI stop while he was operating, get this, a Power Wheel little motorcycle. And he was intoxicated, mind you. And they actually saw that he was a little bit inebriated and everything like that. During the stop, the Indiana State Police said, quote, showed signs of impairment. Signs of impairment on a Power Wheel. But I guess the guy, he just he says, you can't, like, he told him, he's like, you can't just drive these things down the road. He was actually driving them on the road. That's why he got pulled over. So he got arrested for a DUI stop because of a Power Wheel. And the thing is, it happened last month, but the body cam footage was shown today, was released today. So top that one.
Well, I got a little interesting one for you. In Merced, California, just recently, a man was nailed for a DUI for riding his horse on the highway with an open beverage container.
Dude, guys, they're trying to get away with riding things under the influence that are not motor vehicles. Come on.
Well, the fact is, honestly, most of the, having dealt with this, I can tell you that the laws are anything that you are operating, any sort of vehicle in any way, shape, or form that you are operating on a highway or main roadway. So you can get a DUI on your bicycle. You can get a DUI, anything that is being operated on a main highway, because again, it doesn't matter if you're in a car or otherwise, you can cause a lot of damage getting in the way of other cars. I mean, can you picture if that drunken guy driving the horse just pulled into traffic? The horse dies, cars get into accidents, people get hurt. So, you don't think about it. You think it sounds funny, but the fact is pretty much anywhere in the country. I mean, I've heard of guys back in the Midwest who get DUIs on tractors. Because they took their tractor out onto the highway and had been drinking. So anywhere in the US, any vehicle, any mode of transportation on the highways or main roads can get you a DUI. This guy was riding the horse with an open alcoholic beverage container, which was a little bit of a sign to the cop who saw him. So,
oh my God.
Use your heads, folks. Just because you're trying to avoid getting behind the wheel doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Doesn't mean that you're not going to get a DUI one way or another. I mean, here in California, the rule of thumb is if they find keys in your ignition or on your person, your car keys on your person, if they find that on you, you get a DUI for that, even if the car is pulled over.
One of the guys who was in one of my DUI classes that I had to take, it's well known I had my DUI years and years ago. One of the guys that was there was washing his car in his driveway with a 40 on top of the car that he was sipping while he was washing it, had his keys in the car so he could be listening to the radio. And the cop needed his quota, whatever it was. He was just being, the cop was being a prick. I mean, by the letter of the law, the cop can do it, but that was a prick move. Yeah. And that's how this guy got his DUI. He was washing his car in his driveway, sipping on a beer on a Saturday afternoon, but because the keys were in the ignition to keep the engine running or to keep the battery running so he could listen to the radio, the guy got a DUI.
Unbelievable.
So, use your brains. These are the laws, folks. And if a cop's in a bad mood, even if you think it's a small thing, they can light you up for it. So
unbelievable. We got some people on the stream right now. We have Larry saying, not to mention you could get in trouble just walking home drunk for public intoxication here in Texas. Same law applies here in California as well. Derek is saying in our county in Ohio, DUI have been given to people on lawnmowers.
Yep. Any operation of almost any type of vehicle. It's amazing.
Oh my God. Yeah. People, you don't drink and leave your home. Don't drink and get behind the wheel of anything, whether it be a horse, Hot Wheels, or otherwise. Just don't do it.
Call a friend, get a ride,
I can't
Uber,
believe I had to say that.
something. There's ride share. There's a lot of options now.
I
Just
literally
don't
can't
do
believe
it.
I had to say that. I literally can't believe I had to say that right now.
Yep.
Oh my God. In other weird and outlandish news, couple gets caught getting freaky. What's this about, Jeremy?
So we have a couple who was flying from London to Ibiza in Spain, and they were busted by one of the flight attendants. Apparently, they didn't lock the door when they decided to try and join the Mile High Club. There is actual footage from the other passengers. You can kind of see a little of what's going on as the airline attendant opens the door, who embarrassingly turns away very quickly. They're escorted out of there after, I suppose, putting their clothes on or pulling their pants up. And when the flight landed in Spain, they were met by authorities because there is a law, although it is not illegal to have sex on a plane. There is a sexual indecency law in the UK that states you cannot have sex in any bathroom that is open to the public. So what I'm wondering is, would they have been fine just sitting in their seats and doing it? I'm curious. If there's no law against having the sex on the plane, and yet it's sexual indecency to have done it in the bathroom, I'm kind of wondering where the gray area is there.
I'm sick and tired of these motherfucking freaks on this motherfucking plane.
But we don't know if they were actually charged with anything. They don't have any reports yet as to what the outcome of that was, if the officers cited them, arrested them, or otherwise. I would be willing to bet they were probably given a stern warning, a small ticket, and let on their way. But just food for thought, folks. If the flight is starting in the UK, registered with the UK airlines, or landing in the UK, you might not want to push it and try the Mile High trick.
So I guess the couple didn't get any hard time.
I knew you were going to go for the cheap one.
You knew that was coming.
Yeah. Oh, God help me, folks. Why did I bring this up?
You didn't bring it up. They did. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Okay, on that note, we got some entertainment news coming out for you guys. But first, a word from our wonderful sponsors.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Yeah.
Still makes me chuckle.
I know, right? They're just trying to get through there. They're like, let me in, you know. Ah. Anyway, sorry.
So
Huh?
They're so disgusting.
They're so disgusting. Oh my God. Anyways, coming in, that's funny. JC actually just sent a message right now from that last joke. Dave Navarro 3 times with the low hanging fruit, or high soaring, depending on your POV.
Oh.
I can't. I love our audience. Anyways, in some entertainment news, as we all know, Drew Barrymore made an announcement last week saying that she was going to go ahead and film or shoot her brand new season, her next season of the Drew Barrymore show, taking all responsibility for everything. And of course, she got a lot of backlash because there's still the WGA and the SAG strike going on currently right now. But afterwards, she decided to go ahead and create a video apologizing, a very emotional video apologizing for having to do this. In the video, she said, quote, "I believe there's nothing I can do or say in this moment to make it okay. I wanted to own a decision so that it wasn't a PR protected situation, and I would just take full responsibility for my actions. I know there's just nothing I can do that will make this okay for those it's not okay with. I fully accept that. I fully understand that. There are so many reasons why this is so complex, and I just want everyone to know my intentions have never been in a place to upset or hurt anyone. It's not who I am. I've been through so many ups and downs in my life, and this is one of them. I deeply apologize to the writers. I deeply apologize to unions. I deeply apologize. I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly know what to say, because sometimes when things are so tough, it's hard to make decisions from that place. So all I can say is that I wanted to accept responsibility. And no, I don't have a PR machine behind this. My decision to go back to the show, I didn't want to hide behind people, so I won't. And I won't polish this with bells and whistles and publicists and corporate rhetoric. I just stand out. I'll just stand out there and accept and be responsible. There's a huge question of the why. Why am I doing this? Well, I certainly couldn't have expected this kind of attention. She goes on to continue on with everything else. Now, obviously, she feels sorry for what happened. She got a lot of backlash and the Writers Guild of America sternly told her, you cannot, like, any writers for this show will be in direct violation of the Writers Guild. So she can't use writers, obviously. But I mean, when she first made this decision, it was more so for the fact of the matter that she wanted to go ahead and, do something for the public, show something happy, something good, something positive. But unfortunately, it is a backlash towards her. Now, Jeremy, you briefly knew Drew, when you were younger and everything. Obviously, I don't know her personally, but I could imagine that she's actually a really sweet person that wouldn't do any harm to anybody.
I haven't known, Drew in a long time. I think the last time we saw each other was 20 years ago. But everything I know about her from before and from friends who've worked with her is that she is one of the most caring, people around in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult position for her to be in. Let me state that I do not agree with her decision to go back. I think that is kind of a slap in the face to her writers and the people who have helped make, her career what it is. And, especially this show, writers are so important for talk shows. And yes, you can just wing it and go without the writers, but, you're basically giving them the middle finger. Now, like I said, it's her show. She's got the responsibility. So she's also responsible for the cameramen and the set decorators and all the people in the background who aren't making money. And maybe she felt obligated to them to get this going again. It puts her in a very tough spot. I can't speak to what her, reasoning for coming back and not supporting the writers is, but I cannot imagine in any way that it was done for a selfish reason. She has I have never heard anything about her being, a me. The instant backlash was, oh, she's doing this. Her brand's more important than this. And that's not her. Okay. That's from everything I know, from the person I knew years ago, that is not her. If she made this decision out of anything, it's probably, trying to look out for the other people who depend on her show for a living. And again, I don't agree with the decision. Like I said, everybody's being hurt. Everybody, makeup artists, hairstylists, everybody's being hurt by this strike. But, writers are incredibly important. The actors are incredibly important. And, Jimmy Kimmel shut down, and all these different people shut down. Bill Maher's going back. That doesn't shock me because he's been talking shit about the Writers Guild.
We talked about it last week.
Bill Maher's has turned into a moron. He's kind of, he's the grouchy, crotchety old guy who's just pissed off about everything. But I don't agree with it. I'm sorry. I support the writers. I support the unions. I'm sorry. I've been a part of SAG since 84 or 83. I support our unions, and it's incredibly important, that we all stick together. So I don't agree with her decision, but I can tell you that I don't think it came from a negative place or a selfish place.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about it from a different perspective here. As a recovering that are in recovery, a person that's in recovery, how much of this backlash could push Drew over, because she's in recovery as well. So how could this actually affect her mental state, her emotional state, to like maybe have her fall off?
I'm not going there. That is not, we don't speculate on somebody else's, sobriety or otherwise. Any added stress is always an issue for people who are in recovery. But I can only speak for myself. I'm going through this right now with, the strike. Times are tough. I've had to pass on projects. I've had multiple projects. I was supposed to be filming right now. I mean, we're in the months where I was supposed to be filming 3 different independent films, and it's not happening. That's definitely, put a hit on my bank account and on everything else. It's tough. I'm not struggling. Why? Because I've done the work of recovery. I'm not sitting here going, oh God, I need a drink, or, oh, I'm so stressed, I want to just, it's not like that. I've done the work of recovery. Is there always a chance you can slip? Of course. But the fact is, if you are physical, we talked about this a little beforehand. Physical sobriety is just one small part of getting sober. Mental sobriety, emotional sobriety goes hand in hand with it. Physical sobriety has to come first. The work you do afterwards is where you get the mental and the spiritual and emotional sobriety. And if you can really work towards those things and have achieved that in any way, life crises like this become much easier. True.
And we got Deborah. Actually, she pretty much agrees. She says, I've been through rehab, recovery, AA, NA, and it's tough. And keep it up though, Deborah. Keep it up. Definitely keep that up. Well, we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, it's a tough time for everybody, every actor, every producer, director. It's a tough time for everybody to make these types of decisions. It's not easy. You're always afraid what would happen if I cross that picket line. How much backlash am I going to get?
I will throw this in there right now. This is part of why they're dragging it out. This is why the producers and the AMPT, whatever it's called, I can never remember the entire acronym. This is why they're doing it. They want us to turn on each other. They want people to start crossing. They want us to start fighting. The whole point of this is we have to stick together. We are only as strong as we are if we stick together. And the more and more people that start doing this, the more people who cross the picket lines, the more this becomes a pointless exercise where we're not going to get what we want out of this in the end. We're not going to find a compromise because they're just going to stick it to us.
Agreed. So keep on sticking it out there, people, as much as you can. And we'll see what happens with Drew Barrymore in the future after all this. Another person that has receiving backlash, obviously Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis have received major backlash from a lot of organizations. A lot of people are wanting to cancel both of them for them sending letters as a way to ask for clemency or leniency, I should say, for Danny Masterson during his sentencing after being convicted, tried, and sentenced for rape. Ashton has been forced to step down from his own organization as CEO. According to TMZ.com, it says right here, Ashton Kutcher is stepping down as chairman of the board at the anti-child sex abuse organization he started with his ex-wife, Demi Moore. It's the latest blowback from a letter of support he wrote for Danny Masterson. Now, this, I think, not surprised that this is going to happen. I mean, but at the same time, and we talked about this last week, the fact of the matter, they sent a letter for somebody who they thought they knew. They were asked to write this letter by family, saying that, hey, you guys are good friends with him. You know him. You know he's not a bad person. You've known him. Knowing the person personally is different from, knowing the person, that other person that got convicted. They don't know that Danny. They knew this the Danny that was friends of. They know the Danny, the father, Danny, the husband. They knew that Danny, the friend. So, and that's why they wrote the letters. And it's just, now they're getting massive blowback from them writing letters. I don't know. Was the letter supposed to be anonymous? I mean, in my opinion, they should have kept that anonymous.
Well, I don't know if the actual letter was ever published, but this was an open case. So if letters and things were submitted, that's entered into the trial, into the case. So that becomes public record. There's no way to keep that out unless this was a closed trial where the records were kept sealed. Mm-hmm. So from day one, this was never going to be a closed trial. It was too much publicity on it. And anything that was contributed to it was going to be fair game. So, I think it speaks to a lot of different things. The fact that they were willing to try and stand up for a friend is one thing, but ignoring the fact that he was convicted at this point. I mean, the letters were for the sentencing part of it. Mm-hmm. This had nothing to do with he was already found guilty at this point. So I don't care if you know this other guy or whatever. He's been convicted of this horrific crap. And then you're gonna defend him. I struggle with that. As I said, I had an opportunity to be asked to write a, character letter for someone once. This was before the trial. He had not been, convicted of that crime at this point. Had he been convicted and I was asked to write a letter asking for leniency, it never would have happened. There's no prayer. That's just me. It's a really rough situation. It's not a shock that he stepped down. He was most likely forced out, considering, if he's on the board, there are other board members, and that's not exactly a good look for an sexual abuse organization.
Well, I mean, JC actually had something to say about that. He says, people change over time and you can't know everything about everyone in your life. They wrote the letters based on the person they knew. There was bound to be blowback, and common sense says they needed to think about that before proceeding, because in essence, they caused whatever they're put through now in the aftermath. So, I mean, yeah, that is true. And I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know, maybe some ways, shape, or, and I'm not trying to defend them by any means at all, but what I'm thinking here is that maybe they're thinking that, that verdict was bogus, and, they know Danny would never do something like this. And maybe that's what they're thinking. That's what they were thinking. That was their thought process when they wrote the letters and saying, this is not Danny. That's just not, like, they were in denial. Like, they were probably in denial, thinking this is impossible, that he couldn't have done this, It's
possible. Again, they should have really thought this out a little further. It does say something in a way that they were willing to stand with a friend, and being somebody who's been through recovery and has seen people come back from the brink of hell. And I mean, I've heard stories about horrific behavior. I've seen people actually change. I've seen people who were horrific people, who had hurt people in the past, who have done a complete 180, who are not that person. I've seen true change. It does happen. Mm-hmm. But again, asking for leniency for something that has already been, it's just a really touchy, really delicate situation. I mean, does somebody deserve leniency for a horrible crime because they've turned their life around? That's a debate we could go on for hours and hours and hours. Sure. I mean, does somebody who, was a murderer, who got away with it, and then changes their life around and gets found 25 years later, do they deserve some sort of leniency for having changed? Do they deserve some sort of consideration for that? Or because they committed one of the most heinous crimes, do they deserve to be held to that standard? It's a debate that could go on and on and on.
Well, I mean, as it stands, they're paying the price for that debate that they had. So, I mean, that personal debate that they had. And I don't think this is the end of it. I honestly think that they're gonna like receive even more backlash because
I think it's inevitable that the
even
backlash will continue.
I mean, there was even videos. There was even videos that somebody posted on social media dating back to when Mila was 14 and Ashton was like 17 or no, he was like 20, and they had to kiss each other. And there was a video showing Ashton and Mila just joking about how him and Danny had a bet that, you know, like in the first kiss he would go ahead and give her the tongue or something like that, and Mila would just laugh about it, so would Ashton, you know. And then afterward the comment section was just insane. They were like, yeah, they were 3 cut from the same cloth. All 3 of them were cut from the same cloth. I wouldn't go that far. I really wouldn't go that far, but it's examples like that people are posting on social media saying that that's why they wrote the letter, because they all think exactly the same. Pretty much. That's what they're insinuating with these videos.
It's people making a rather large leap. You know, if someone from the set, you know, someone who was there every day came out and said, no, there was a lot of inappropriateness going on. These were all people who were behaving, you know, in a negative way when it comes to underage and all that kind of stuff. If somebody who had firsthand knowledge was to come out, that's one thing. But digging up small clips that can be taken out of context or can be, you know, twisted around to fit any narrative you want, you know, I'm not going to jump into that stuff. We had plenty of stuff on our show that would not be considered even remotely close to okay by today's standards. And I'll tell you right now, there wasn't anybody on our set who had an issue with it at the time. So, you know, you can look back in hindsight, you know, with today's glasses, but you can't evaluate things from a totally different era, a totally different time by today's, you know, point of view. It just doesn't work like that.
Well, as it stands, that's just this is just one organization, one of possibly many that Ashton's going to have to go ahead and give up after this blowback. So we'll just see what happens after that. In other entertainment news, Britney Spears breaks up with her short-lived relationship to Paul Richard Solis. Now, this is the weirdest relationship, I swear. Something's wrong with her. This guy allegedly, the look on your face like, hello,
where have you been?
Where's the surprise on that one? Apparently this gentleman was, I guess, her housekeeper in a sense. And she had a little bit of an affair with her housekeeper. Now, I don't know if this is the man that Sam was accusing her of Britney cheating on with. I don't know for sure if that's the case, but he was a man that shortly after the divorce was the first person that Britney went with. And according to sources, your favorite word, they're saying that the reason why she was with him is because she felt safe with this guy. Now, this guy's got a little bit of a rap sheet, let me tell you. According to some insiders, they say that Britney and Paul have gone their separate ways. It was a short-lived romance, but nothing serious, and they're no longer together. So, you know, pretty much it was a rebound. Now, Solis actually spoke to Us Magazine about his connection with Britney Spears. And let me just tell you this right now, according to yahoo.com, it says Solis has previously been charged for multiple misdemeanors, including disturbing the peace, child endangerment, and driving without a license, in addition to felonies for possession of a controlled substance, for sale of possession of a firearm, according to records obtained by Us. Now, he went ahead and had, I guess he had a court date or something like that, and they asked her about his relationship with Britney, and he says she's a phenomenal woman. She's very, very good, positive. She's a good person. I just don't get it, dude. Like, honestly, I was just thinking about this the other day. I was like, I swear, if Britney were to come up to me and say, hey, you know, let's go on a date, I'd be like, hell no. One, because you're a man eater. Like, you will seriously chew me up, spit me out, and that'll be the end of us. I mean, that'll be the end of it. Secondly, I mean, the sex would probably be amazing because you're freaking wackadoodle, but that's beside the point. Okay, you're a wackadoodle at the end of it. So yeah, no, I can't do it. I can't do it.
I don't really get it either, but at the same time, if he was, kind of running her place, whether it was, cleaning up or taking care of, oftentimes people who have estates like that have estate managers, people who run all of their cooks and gardeners and cleaners and things like that. I don't know what this guy was to her, but it's obviously a rebound type, relationship or whatever. Again, she's got a lot of issues. I hope she, is getting a little bit of help working through all this stuff. I mean, going through whatever she's been going through with Sam, her ex it's all hearsay at this point. She's trying to put out that he was just using her, and he was putting out that she had cheated. I'm not going to listen to all that he said, she said BS. All I can say is I hope she's doing okay mentally. A lot of what we're seeing looks like she's been awful manic lately. And I hope that doesn't continue to get worse. But, all we can do is kind of watch and see where this goes from here.
Somebody needs to slip her meds in her drink. A lot of her meds in her drink, because I think she's a little off of it, but that's beside the point. Again, welcome everybody that's following us on TikTok as well. What Nation's saying, she's laughing at the whole housekeeper thing. Yes, I mean, that's so classic. That is so classic for the person of the house to get with the housekeeper. But this time it's in reverse. This time it's not the male going with the housekeeper. Now it's a female. It's like, well, who's the boss? There you go. So she's bringing the classics back, baby. We got some sports talk coming for you, including, WWE layoffs. We'll talk a little bit more about this right after this. I'll be right back.
Listening to stuff has never been so enjoyable. If you had the misfortune to have been born after 1990, then you missed out on a lot of cool stuff. Then Is Now Podcast is here to remedy that. Join Rigor and his dedicated band of rotating hosts as they tackle pop culture of the past and how it relates today. From celebrity interviews to film and TV discussion and beyond, Then Is Now Podcast brings you up to speed on all the cool stuff that you should know about. Plus, the East meets the West. If you enjoy movies that have lots of shooting and fighting, then there's a whole world of films out there that you don't even know about. Join our hosts on a journey as they discuss the amazing kung fu films of the Shaw Brothers and Western films made in Italy that have become known as spaghetti westerns. Action, adventure, kung fu fighting. Both shows and more can be found at havenpodcasts.com. Warning, may cause nostalgic feelings and eliminate boredom.
Spaghetti westerns. It always cracks me up every time I see that commercial. It makes me want to actually go and watch some of these movies. They're they're classics.
Spaghetti westerns are really kind of they're really amazing in their own way. If you're looking for a John Wayne, good old American Western, it's not for you. But if you were more of a Clint Eastwood, Sergio Leone, who did Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and all that, those were classic spaghetti westerns. They have a real feel. They
were really considered spaghetti?
Huh?
They were considered spaghetti westerns?
They were all done by Sergio Leone, the Italian director. He had made his bones in the spaghetti western, so it was done in that style. So if you've seen Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars, a few dollars more, those were all done in the spaghetti western style.
I love them too. Those are
they're great films.
My dad got me into those for the longest time. I loved all of Clint Eastwood's movies. Those are freaking great. Yeah, definitely a good. That's a definitely good podcast for everybody that loves those types of movies and TV shows and stuff like that. So we recommend that one. Now, moving on to some sports. This past Monday was the last Monday that WWE owner Vince McMahon had complete control over his brand. They went ahead and WWE, it was pretty much merged with William Morris Endeavor and the UFC. And William Morris Endeavor owns now majority control of the WWE. What does that mean? Well, a lot of things. It could mean a lot of things. But one thing that it has meant are layoffs. There have been layoffs going on since this happened. This, according to WrestlingInc.com. One of the inevitable consequences of any corporate merger, be it Disney and Fox, Comcast and NBC Universal, or indeed now WWE and UFC, is the large spending cuts to follow. Sadly, labor costs are typically seen as one of the largest expenses on the balance sheets, leading to a reduction in staff where redundancies now exist in the new company. Leading up to the completed merger between WWE and UFC, there was a good deal of apprehension in the WWE offices about coming layoffs. Today, a number of WWE employees were let go from their positions. So it's already starting to happen. Now, this was like we all knew. This can't be a surprise that this was going to happen, especially since William Morris Endeavor owns 51% of the WWE, which means they control it. They're going to want their employees to pretty much take over at this point. I don't know. This is a merger that had to happen, especially after all the controversy that happened with Vince McMahon, all the sexual harassment allegations, all the payoffs, everything. Vince had no choice but to sell the majority stake to a huge reputable company such as William Morris Endeavor. So, I mean, what are your thoughts, Jeremy?
Well, let me ask you something. If you took over a company and the majority of the people who'd been working there had gone along with bribery payoffs and sexual harassment and violence against people and all this other stuff in the workplace, we're not even talking about what was going on camera. We're talking about in the workplace, behind the scenes. Wouldn't you start cleaning house and trust your own people more than you would trust those?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Anytime you have, this wasn't a hostile takeover in that he agreed to sell. It was going to have to happen. But anytime you have that happen, yeah, they're going to want their people installed, the people they trust, the people they know, and, everybody else will get evaluated and they'll see if they get to keep their jobs. That's just how this kind of thing works.
That's just how the cookie crumbles at this point. I mean, a lot of people are also fearing this type of merger, how much it's going to change the WWE dynamic. Some people are saying, will UFC fighters go to the WWE and do wrestling type of things? Will WWE fighters or wrestlers go to UFC and maybe, go one-on-one for some real fighting? I mean, there's a lot of questions. I doubt that's going to happen, to be honest.
Dude, Brock Lesnar was a one-off.
Ronda Rousey, though.
Again, Ronda went the other direction, though.
Well, Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley did, but Bobby Lashley was already a beast when it came to wrestling and all that kind of stuff. If you come from a pure wrestling background, look at Brock Lesnar. The man was a champion in college, actual old school regular wrestling, NCAA, all of that. So he has the natural background. He's not just a guy who messed around with this and this and learned to become an entertainer. Again, absolutely no knock on The Rock, but The Rock was not trained in wrestling. He was a football player. He was all of this other stuff. He was not a wrestler. He was not a combat martial artist, but he learned to be an entertainer. He learned to be the most electric man in,
Electrifying. Get it right.
Electrifying.
The most
Shut up.
Electrifying man in sports and entertainment.
But that's the truth. So not that I love The Rock, but you never saw him going, oh yeah, I'm going to go to UFC and, get it on with these guys. That's not happening. Most of the guys in the WWE are not fighters. Can they fight? I wouldn't want to get in a ring with them.
Well, you have a perfect example. You have a perfect example in CM Punk.
Well, exactly. CM Punk, who was, kind of at the top of his game in the WWE, was considered quite a performer, had a lot of skills, gets to, mixed martial arts and just never really does anything. Just puts on some mediocre performances.
He didn't win one fight. Not one fight did he win.
I know. And there was all the BS that kept going with it, with him like rescheduling stuff, and he wasn't ready for fights and shows. And it's a whole different ball game. It really is. I'm not saying wrestlers aren't tough. We all know the stories of the injuries these guys go through, the things they have to do, especially during the Extreme era, all that kind of stuff. These are some tough guys, but you go in against somebody who is a trained killer, somebody who is trained to put you out as quickly as possible. That's a different story. It is. I'm sorry.
And I mean, at the end of the day, these guys, the upside to this could also be more opportunities for a lot of these wrestlers to like maybe go into mainstream movies and things like that. Because I mean, you're represented now by William Morris Endeavor, so that's a pretty big deal for a lot of these wrestlers.
There's a lot of opportunity there, especially for people to be seen more. It's hard to go from wrestling to acting. I mean, Rock is one of the few who did it really well. Piper did it in a couple of good films where he actually got a lot of praise. Hogan sucked. I'm sorry.
Yeah, was terrible.
Hogan was awful in just about every, film that he did.
And so is John Cena a little bit. I mean, but the only time I like John Cena
has gotten better.
Well, I liked him in that DC freaking I can't remember the name
in the show. He's playing
I can't. JC Strickland, I know you're there. Go ahead and tell us what movie.
Come on, JC, help me here.
What TV show? Peacemaker. There you go. That one.
Yeah. No, he's done a great job. But if you watch like his early stuff where basically he was doing movies that were produced by WWE.
Yeah.
If you watch his first couple of films were produced by them. They were trying to get him out there as this next Rock, kind of personality. And he just didn't have the ability. Acting wise, he's gotten better. He really has.
Yeah.
If you watch the stuff he's done more recently, he has been working on his acting ability, on his performance, and he's gotten a lot better. I really like a lot of the stuff he's been doing. He's good at being self-deprecating. He can be very funny. He can pull off a little bit of seriousness now. Hogan never achieved that. I think Hogan's ego made him think, I'm just amazing and I don't need to work at it, because I never saw any improvement there. Honestly, his best one was probably Rocky 3.
Yeah.
And that was the first appearance. Everything after that was just downhill. So
no, it was all bad. And then JC saying, Jeremy beat me to it. I was writing it as he said it.
I knew I had to get quick before JC got me.
JC's on top of it, man. Oh man. Well, we'll see like what this merger it means as far as the platform goes for WWE. And we'll just have to wait and see how it moves forward. In other sports news, as we all know, Aaron Rodgers had a very, very, very extremely short time with the Jets this season. And man, the memes, they were just like dogging on him. I'm not going to go ahead and poke fun at the fact that he got injured. That I would never want anybody to get injured. That's bottom line right there. But what did I tell you? The New York Jets is the place where quarterbacks go to die. I said that,
especially Green Bay quarterbacks.
Especially Green Bay quarterbacks. And now Jets are out. They have no quarterback at this time that, they have a quarterback, but they don't have Aaron Rodgers. And actually, Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee podcast, actually addressing he actually just received surgery. Surgery went well. Everything's fine. But, he actually said on the Pat McAfee show that it's pretty much confirmed that he will be back. And, the problem here is that he wants to shock people. What does that mean? According to what he kind of insinuated is that he's going to try to push himself as much as possible in recovery. The problem here is Aaron Rodgers is not young anymore. He can't push himself like that because he could go ahead and possibly re-injure himself. And we all know Aaron Rodgers loves to just push that envelope to get up there and get going. That's a problem because he could cause re-injury if he pushes himself too much. So he's saying that he wants to go ahead and push the envelope as much as possible. Can this be more detrimental to him at his age?
Abso-freaking-lutely. I think that's more talk than just about anything else. This is not a broken ankle. This is not a torn ligament in his. This is he tore his Achilles tendon, tore it clear in half, basically. Let me tell you a little quick story. I had a hookah fall off a counter and shatter on the back of my leg. A small sliver of glass went into my Achilles tendon.
Oh.
I couldn't stretch that to take a step for almost 3 months. A tiny sliver had just gone in. Okay, he tore it completely. It's one of the hardest injuries to come back from, next to the triple threat, the ACL, MCL, and the medial, whatever the other one is. It really is hard to heal the Achilles tendon. You can't walk. You can't stretch your foot. You can't do squat. So he can want to as much as he wants. His body is going to tell him no. That's just a fact. He will not be able to put pressure on that. He won't even be able to stretch it if he chooses to. It is absolutely brutal.
Man. Well, JC actually had a question. He said he actually asked this earlier. That's not the question. Just reiterating the fact that you beat him to the punch. Here it is right here. JC said, I'd love to get both of your guys' perspective on what they're putting up front after what happened with Aaron Rodgers. I'll go ahead, take this one.
I'll take this one. The coach, as well as the management, seems to be pretty much resigned to sticking with Zach Wilson. I don't think that's a bad move. I really don't. Zach Wilson started all of last year, like most rookies who start their first year. He had a rough season. That's why they brought Aaron in. They thought they had a better chance at making the Super Bowl with him. And they wanted Zach to be able to learn from him. Okay. That's what they wanted. They wanted him to have somebody to learn from for the year, a year or two, so that they could then utilize him as their quarterback of the future. Zach Wilson has a lot of talent. He's just inexperienced. So getting him a little playing experience on the job here is not the worst thing in the world. We all know Aaron Rodgers was not the most helpful to his underlings and his backups back in Green Bay.
That's an understatement.
But that has apparently changed a little bit in New York. Rumors are and reports are that he is actually quite, what's it called? That he's actually had a real good relationship with Zach Wilson, that he's been really effusive in his praise for him and how he's been working out. And I think he'll still kind of guide him a little bit and mentor him, given he won't be able to be on the field all the time now. He's going to be in recovery, but I think they're going to end up sticking with Wilson. I really do. I think they'll let him learn a little bit and grow. And, if they bring Rodgers back next year and he comes back strong, then they'll have somebody with more experience who's more ready to take over if, God forbid, Aaron's body breaks down again.
Rodgers was a whiny little child in Green Bay.
Absolutely.
That's the reason why he was pissed that they went ahead and drafted Jordan Love. That's the reason why he never taught Jordan Love anything, because he was pissed at management for drafting him. Jordan Love had nothing to do with it. He was just somebody that they drafted. To go ahead and blame the kid by not teaching him anything, but not helping him out, that's just Rodgers being petty. He was just being petty for what happened, but you know what? I'm proud of Jordan Love. He came out on his own and he was successful this past week. We'll see how he continues to be in the coming weeks. Green Bay Packers are doing a complete rebuild, brand new, younger team with a younger coach, younger quarterback. We'll see how they do. And I would be so happy if the Packers actually go all the way. I doubt it they will, but let's be realistic here. We have a lot of bigger teams that are kicking ass that we all know will kick ass. As far as fantasy football goes, we're not going to talk about last week, but as fast as the rest of the NFL, whatever. Okay, it's 1 week. All right, get over yourself. Jesus. Hate you so much. That's the news in case we haven't heard it. I wanted to thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to the Navarro-Miller Report. I am your host, Dave Navarro, along with this pain in my ass forever.
I'm Jeremy Miller.
We'll go ahead and see you guys next week. Next Friday, we will be here as usual from 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Wanted to go ahead and wish everybody a wonderful weekend, and we will see you all next time.
You have been listening to the Navarro-Miller Report.
This episode of the Navarro-Miller Report was brought to you by the Dorkening Podcast Network and sponsored by Deadly Grounds Coffee.